Hello and welcome to
Hello.
Seire A Matchday 2. Daniele Fisichella. We didn't have many surprises in the first match day. The four big favorites, Juventus, Milan, Inter and Napoli, won, and we saw some great goals. I have to say that I loved Candreva's goal at the Olimpico.
Yeah, that was the beauty, the control with the right foot and then shot with his left foot under the crossbar. Yes, no mess. The favorites won. Perhaps the only surprise was Lazio, who lost at Lecce. And yes, again, they got unstuck by Lecce. They lost 2 of the last 3 against Lecce. They squandered the lead. And then one of the surprises, perhaps Fiorentina, top of the league now, 4-1 against Genoa. Great performance. 3 goals in the first 25 minutes, and now they got a home game against Lecce, and maybe they might be top again after 2 games.
Let's see, what is your tip for this game and for every single game in Serie A? Don't forget, as always, press the like, subscribe to our channel, ask any question to Dani Fisichella. He knows everything about Italian football. And now let's go on with the show. And also remember, if you are looking for a bookie to register, that we have an exclusive promo with 1xBet. Just type our promo code, Oddspedia YouTube, and you will have a 30% boost in your welcome bonus. So up to 130%. Perhaps you want to use it in the Serie A. Dani, on Saturday, we start this second match day with a game in the north of Italy, Monza, Empoli, and the bookies give kind of low odds, I would say, for Monza to win, around 2, really favorite despite the defeat against Inter. I guess it's a normal defeat. They even had some chances to score a goal at San Siro, but especially the bookies, I think they don't trust Empoli after the defeat against Hellas Verona at home.
First of all, hi to Benjamin, Emeka, Sergio, who are watching live. So yes, let's start with Monza Empoli on Saturday. The question we ask ourselves is, are Monza weaker than last season? I think they are at the moment because they lost a couple of players, Rovella, Sensi, Augusto, and they do need a center forward. Against Inter, they played with Maric, who hasn't played in a year, and he didn't have a sniff of the goal. I know up the back they are solid with the addition of D'Ambrosio, but yes, for a team that likes to keep the ball as much as Palladino wants and try to be propositive, which they were, by the way, at San Siro in the second half, they mastered half chances. I think Monza, yeah, they do look a bit weak, and they do need another center forward. In the end, Sommer, the Inter goalkeeper, didn't have a save to make. Last season at home, Monza, a bit hit and miss, 7 wins, 7 draws. Let's not forget, Monza were the only side in Serie A not to be involved in a 0-0 draw, so not a dull match. And the same could be said about Empoli, who were unlucky against Verona. They hit the bar, missed a massive chance with Yassi in the first half when it was 0-0, conceded because of Caprile's mistake. Now, I did say that in my previous video. Last season and the one before, they were saved by many Vicario saves. You've seen him, how good he is for Spurs. Now, changing goalkeeper, okay, Caprile was one of the best goalkeepers in Serie B with Bari. It could be a problem for them. Let's see. Only won 2 away games last season, by the way. Empoli averaged less than a goal per game. But I think a team that goes with the front 3 of Caputo, Ghiassi, Cancellieri, and Baldanzi, write down these names, he's one of the most promising Italian players under 21, behind, they will create, they will score goals. I think there could be goals in it. Can I trust Empoli to keep a clean sheet? No. Can I think Monza can score? Yes, I think so. Both to score. 191.
Okay, goals in the first game in this Monza. Empoli at the same time. We have Frosinone, Atalanta, bad start for Frosinone. We expected them to lose, of course, against Napoli, even if they started scoring with a penalty in the first minutes. Now They have another tough game against Atalanta. Good victory in Sassuolo. It's never easy to win in the Mapei Stadium. And Danny, we saw the Cagliari scoring. This is a big surprise because he was kind of rubbish for Milan. And also I have to say about the goal technology, very important in Italy.
After 33 games, 22 shots in Serie A, he is alive. Charles de Ketelaere, he is alive and he's with us, and he scored thanks to the goal technology, but it was a good header that Consigli saved just after the line, so gave Atalanta the lead, and that's a great news for everyone because, yes, he became a little bit of a mock, a bit of a joker last season at Milan, but we do believe there is a player in there, and playing under Gasperini could be the best move of his career. Of course, he's only on loan from Milan. Good from Atalanta, by the way. Good news is probably Zapata, the Colombia, doesn't want to leave after all to go to Roma, so probably will stay. And, okay, of course, a bit of a blow because the new signing, Bilal Tourer from Almeria, 30 million they spend on him, and he got injured, so he's done for the season. They got Lukman, they got Scamacca, they got Zapata. They had to play, of course, the Europa League. The Ketelaere, is a team that I think somehow has been strengthened, especially at the back. They changed with Bakker, with Kolasinac, a little bit of new faces, and I think that's what they needed. Another away win, by the way, for Atalanta. They now play back-to-back games away. Obviously, Frosinone plays back-to-back home games. It's strange at the beginning of the season. Two games in a row away or at home. But another win for Atalanta away. 9 wins last season. The numbers are good. They didn't risk much against Sassuolo. They hit the bar as well. And what can we say about Frosinone? Nobody would have expected that the first goal of the season was scored by a Harui of Frosinone on a penalty. For 15 minutes, they looked good. They had chances. They looked energetic. Caso led the line. Another name to write down in your notebook. Caso of Frosinone. I think he'll be a good player. In the second half, they hit the bar with Baez from midfield. But, against Napoli, as the time went by, they looked exposed, they looked inexperienced because they are inexperienced. This is a young side. I think they will know more about this side after the transfer market is finished. Now they're trying to recruit more players, getting players on loan from big teams. This week they signed Khedira from Bari, Moroccan international, scored 22 goals for Bari last season in Serie B. He probably will start. I think for Frosinone, if they are to go down this season, they will go down, but not with the worst attack of Serie A. I think they will score goals, but they need to be careful because they're going to be picked up at the back. Atalanta, I think they're going to win, and the odds for Atalanta to win are good. You can go for that, but if you want to be a little bit more ambitious, Asian handicap of minus 0.75, 199. If they only win by 1 goal margin, you win half a stake. If they win by more than a goal margin, you win really good, 199. Basically double your stakes.
It's not Sami Khedira, no? Another Khedira.
No, it's another Khedira. It's Walid Khedira. Actually, it should be pronounced Khedira. Walid Khedira is Moroccan, playing in the World Cup, 22 goals for Bari. He's a good player. He's a good center forward.
Well, Atalanta to win and over 1.5 goals for Benjamin. Looks like a good idea, actually. Benjamin from Italy, writing to us from Italy. Hello to Marco. Hello to everyone. Let's jump into the next games, perhaps even more interesting. This Milan Torino, also good debut for Milan, winning away in Bologna. We saw Giroud scoring, but also Pulisic. There were some doubts about this signing, but in the first game, he scored in Serie A, Dani, and we saw a very different midfield. For Milan, we saw Loftus-Cheek, Krunic, and Reinders in the midfield. How do you see this game against Torino? Torino had a goalless draw at home.
Exciting for Milan because they changed a lot in midfield and in attack, and all these new signings they all make sense. They all follow the Milan philosophy, young players or experienced players but not too old like Pulisic and Loftus-Cheek. They want to have a second career, and they were impressive, especially Pulisic in the first 30 minutes. Gave a pass to Reinders, who then gave the assist to Loftus-Cheek, scored. Reinders, by the way, did not give a wrong pass in the whole game, Opta stats, and I think this is amazing. The passes were not just sideways or backwards, he also played forwards, and it was good without the ball. Obviously, now they need to confirm themselves. But Milan did well in the first game. And also, what I like about Milan is that they look like they got more alternatives this season up front. Not only because Pulisic, Loftus-Cheek can play in more than a position, but obviously because they got Okafor as well. Chukwueze, who was good last season in Spain for Villarreal, was one of the top, and he's going to be really good when they have to play on the counter-attack. Leao looks sharp. Yeah, I think Milan are in a good place. Will they challenge for the title? I don't know. But I think this is the sort of games that can tell you what kind of level are Milan. Normally, last season they were good at home, 43 points, 2 less than Napoli. Had the best home attack last season, Milan. So you can understand why the odds for Milan to win are quite low, although last season against Torino, they suffered. They lost 1-0 in Coppa Italia. They lost in Turin in the league game. When it comes to Torino, a bit of it a miss. They were good in possession, 58% possession against Cagliari, kept the ball well, didn't create much, lacked the cutting edge. In the end, actually, they could have lost. Cagliari had better chances, but they are solid. They don't give many chances away, especially when they travel. Last season, they were good, 31 points away, third in the away table, scored 27 goals in their travel, 4 more than Milan. And if you look at the attackers of Torino this season, are the same, strengthened by the presence of Bellanova on the right, got Tamese in the middle. Sanabria looks, a good player as well. Vlasic signed permanently. So yeah, I think they're gonna give Milan a good game. Milan has kept 5 clean sheets in the last home matches in Serie A versus Torino. I think it's gonna be an under here. If it's a Milan win, it could be a Milan win 2-0, considering Torino doesn't score too many goals. It could be a draw as well. Under 2.5 goals, 181.
Well, we saw for Torino, Sarabia, Caramo, and Vlasic up front in the previous game. Milan to win and over 1.5 goals. For Benjamin, Milan games will have a lot of goals this season. Sergio is telling us, for Dani Fisichella, this one will be an under. And the last game we have on Saturday is Verona-Roma. Dani, now Belotti has more goals scoring Serie A than you and than me. That we were
that was the curse.
Joking.
That was the curse. And actually, he had one disallowed, so he could have scored 3.
Yeah,
that was the curse. Belotti will have to excuse me because it was a poor joke. But yeah, he hadn't scored, but 2 great goals.
2 great goals, and the goal disallowed was a great goal as well. So good job for Belotti. Few of the positive things, I guess, from that game. Roma drew against Salernitana with Candreva scoring the second goal. Is amazing. It's a beauty. And now they have this tricky trip to the Bentegodi. Great start for Verona, beating a direct rival to avoid relegation like Empoli.
Roma lost a little bit their way after going 1-0 up. They looked in control. Salernitana weren't creating much. Then they missed the chance to go in 2-0 up with Mancini. And in the end, they had to rescue a point in the second half. It could have gone either way. If you look actually at the number of chances created and shots, Salernitana had an expected goals of 0.35, which is the lowest of Matchday 1 in Serie A. But they got Candreva, who undone and unpicked Roma defense. I think the return of Belotti can be really important because basically last season they didn't have him, didn't score. But this is a guy who scored 113 goals for Torino in 7 seasons. It's relatively young. He's turned 30 or 31. So, there's still a lot of football in him. And without Tammy Abrams sideline, he's going to play a lot of games. So if he's confident, I think Roma is almost like a new signing. They are still trying to sign a new center forward. They would like to get Zapata. Maybe Zapata is not going to go there. The dream is to get Lukaku, which I think will change the complexity of the team a lot. But there is one man only that is important for this Roma side, more important than the others. Dybala. Exactly. Without Dybala, it's a complete different side. The struggles to it takes them a long time to create chances. And obviously, they rely a lot on set pieces. With Dybala, it's different. They can turn, they play quickly, they are quicker on the counter-attack, they got better decision-making up front. Good news is that Dybala should be fit to play this one from the start, as well as Pellegrini. And Renato Sanchez has a good game. Aouar had a good game. Paredes had a good spell of a game. So, I mean, take the debut with a pinch of salt. Roma were not great, but I don't think it was all doom and gloom. And they can definitely bounce back here. Against Verona, who I think in the end against Empoli were a bit lucky. They got better in the second half when Baroni is blessed because he could change the entire front three and he put in Juric, Saponara, and Bonazzoli, who are three players who have very good experience in Serie A. And that was the decisive factor. You know, when you can change the three attackers and you put three players who got goals, in fact, Bonazzoli scores and experience, I think that is a factor. They're weak for me in midfield, Verona, and they've been weak for the last 2-3 seasons, but they're very physical. They are sturdy. Last season at home, they only won one game, and they had the worst attack in Serie A with 11 goals at home. I think Roma are going to win it. Probably by 1 goal, 2 goals. But look at the odds. 195 for Roma, who finished 6th, the Europa League finalist, to go to Verona, who got saved in the playoff relegation scrap match against Spezia. I think the odds are amazing. Go for Roma, 195.
Well, last season Roma won at the Bentegodi, as we were checking before. The Roma won both games. For Marco, this is going to be a double chance for Verona and under, but for Sharif, for instance, is going for Roma, and Electronics is talking about Ochoa. We will talk about him when we speak about Salernitana, of course. But before, let's jump into the games we have on Sunday. First one is Fiorentina, Lecce, and we are talking about the top of the table. Fiorentina scored 4, and I was checking, and it's like, is Jovic around? No, he didn't play a minute. Then I learned that he's not even in the list for the Conference League. So Jovic, a complete flop for Fiorentina, but they have Biraghi, they have Bonaventura, and they scored 4 against Genoa. Now they played against Lecce, that you mentioned is one of the biggest surprises of match day 1. The victory against Lazio, scoring the goals in the last minutes.
Yeah, and 2 goals in 90 seconds for Lecce, who really performed a miraculous comeback. They were 1-0 down. In the second half, better. They went toe-to-toe with Lazio. Despite not having a number 9, they were good. They had 23 shots, Lecce, the team that had most shots in match day 1 in Serie A, 3 on targets, and in the end, in 90 seconds with Olmquist and Di Francesco, they scored 2 very good goals. You know, credit to them for getting stuck in. Some players like Rafia had a very good game. But, you know, the issue with Lecce is that they don't have a number 9. They don't have a goal scorer. So you can't always rely on that. But, you know, those 3 points are vital. So I feel in any high-scoring game, and when I say high-scoring game, that means over 2.5 goals, over 3.5 goals, Lecce will probably lose. I can't see them scoring more than 2 goals per game consistently. On the other hand, Fiorentina were the best team on match day 1, not just because they won 4-1, but the way they took the chances. They were really clinical. They dominated, by the way, best team for ball possession, same as last year. So really, same story. High press, able to capitalize on mistakes. And, you know, that was the first time they scored 4 away goals since March 2021. You talk about Jovic, but with the arrival of Zola, who Italiano knows him better from his season at Spezia, I think they are better suited with him. Zola is a less selfish player. He likes to make a lot of runs, plays a lot of 1-2s, more physical, but more experience to play in Serie A as well. I think they're better with him. And they got Beltran for River Plate. So probably, yes, after Cabral, also Jovic will have to find himself another team. I'm really curious to see Parisi in action because they signed one of Italy's best left back, but in a position that is already covered by Biraghi. Let's see how they alternate him. By the way, Fiorentina play midweek on Thursday against Rapid Wien in the Conference League qualifiers. So and next week as well. So this is a little bit of a test to see how deep is Fiorentina squad, how good it is, because it's the only team that has to play midweek now until mid-September. I think this is going to be another high-scoring game, and the odds for Fiorentina to score a lot of goals are good, but you know the odds for over 2.25 goals, I think they are more than decent. 188 for over 2.25 goals. Remember, if there are only 2 goals, you only lose half a stake. I think it's one to go for.
Well, Benjamin is also going for the over in this game, in this Fiorentina Lecce,
Yes.
and at the same time we have Juve Bologna, also one of the leaders. Juventus scoring 3 in the first game away against Udinese. Danny predicted Juventus to win, and there you have it. Hopefully, also we see Chiesa the whole season. He scored a goal, and I think a lot of eyes are on him, and hopefully he does a really good season. Whereas Danny, Bologna, tough start for them this season. First, the defeat in Milan, and it's not an easy trip, the first one to Torino.
Best Juventus we've seen in the last 3 years. And again, not just because of the results, because of the desire, the hunger. They crafted some very beautiful goals as well. 3-0 up in the first half. They just looked a different team. They just looked the team they should have looked last season. Chiesa playing in a more advanced position. Allegri likes him to play next to Vlahovic and set a target for him to score at least 16 goals. He already had one. But, the entire Juve was more dynamic and forward-looking. I think the two wingbacks, Cambiasso and Weah, 2 new signings, 2 new players, look really good. They look with a lot of desire. Now, obviously, Juventus need to confirm themselves, especially at home. Last season, they were really poor. They only scored 18 goals at home, less than a goal per game. They did beat Bologna 3-0 in the reverse fixtures, but, now, obviously, that's really important to do week in and week out. In Italy, the tale of the week has been whether Juventus are better because the arrival of Magnanelli as an assistant coach to Allegri, former Sassuolo player, and everyone is telling about the story in social media that is because of Magnanelli, that he's revolutionized everything. So, yeah, of course, Allegri, who's paying 9 million per year, needs Magnanelli to change the way Juventus play. I think what the story is that they got a new assistant, obviously somebody with skills and somebody with experience, and Allegri has deputized some of the functions, some of the training methods, but I think the change in mentality is obviously instilled by the top, by the manager. But, I wanted to tell you the story of Magnanelli. You will see it on socials in Italy if you're familiar with it. Bologna, they lost. Not all doom and gloom, I must say, because they had the best chance of the game when they hit the bar with Ferguson at the beginning. They kept the ball more than Milan and better than Milan, 17 shots in total for Bologna, yet they lost 2-0. I think with Bologna, you can tell that the ideas are there, the philosophy is there. They might lack the personnel because the center forward is Joshua Zirkzee, who only scored 2 goals last season. I know he scored 16 for under like 3 years ago, but it's not quite the same level. If they manage to sign more players as they are looking to, I think Bologna will be absolutely fine, but I cannot see them finishing higher than the 10s in the table. Again, I'm going to go for the obvious. Juve win. Asian handicap -1, 190.
Well, Corello is telling us the same, actually. Juventus Asian handicap -1, sure win for Juventus. Also over 2.5 goals. Let's see if Danny chooses this one for his sure bet. And later on Sunday, we have Lazio Genoa, 2 teams that cannot be happy with their debut. Genoa, in their comeback to Serie A, got 4 at home. And Lazio, Danny, we mentioned that they lost quality. We were mentioning it in the previous video. Without Milinkovic-Savic, for instance, they signed Kamada, and we saw him in the starting 11. But in a season where they are playing Champions League, the defeat against Lecce doesn't look promising, apart from Immobile, that hasn't forgotten, of course, about scoring goals.
And Immobile scored a goal in match day 1 of Serie A for the 6th consecutive season. Wow. So that's impressive. And actually, he had the chance to make it 2-0. Hit the bar, was a good save from Falcone. Some people say, Immobile missed another goal. No, it's a very good save with the foot from Falcone. It would have been 2-0, and after 90 seconds, they were 2-1 down. But I think Maurizio Sarri is right to be upset, because in the second half, they took the foot off the gas. And it's very unlikely for Lazio, who last season had the best away defense, to concede so much. They need to bounce back. I think it's about also the depth of the squad and the subs. Isaksen, Castellanos didn't really impact the game when they come on. Kamada might need a little bit of time to adjust. I wonder whether we will see more minutes from Rovella, who didn't play at all against Lecce. And I think Sarri has got a very good midfielder in there. I'm curious to see if he plays him this week. Genoa underperformed. They only had 4 shots against Fiorentina, but they have got a good team, okay? It could be the typical first day back in Serie A shock. They are a bit of an unknown quantity away from home. Having played in Serie B last season, you really haven't got a lot of stats to back them up. But they got a good team, the likes of Retegui, Gudmundsson, and now they added also Malinowski. He's been really good for Atalanta. So I think they're going to be okay. And I think most of Genoa's games are going to be over 2.5 goals this season. You can check the beautiful stats on Oddspedia website at the end. You know what the odds are. There are all the stats and they get updated week by week. So you can tell how many overs are. Obviously, now it's only the first weekend. Over 1.5 goals in the first half for me pays 2. So this is an Asian line. Obviously, if there are only 1 goal in the first half, you don't lose anything. But if there are more than a goal in the first half, you double your stake.
Talking about goals and about defenses, Electronics is asking you, Danny, if Juve have the best defense in Serie A.
No, for me, no. For me, Danilo, Bremer, Gatti is a strong defense, but it's not the best defense. Juventus have got a very good keeper. For me, the best defense, it's I still sit with probably Lazio. I think for the defensive organization, and Inter just next to it. Also because they signed Pavard this season.
Well, next game, Napoli, Sassuolo, with Napoli defending the title in the first match day, scoring 3. Osimhen already in the top of the standings, about Capocannoniere, the striker, the goals standings in Serie A, together with Velotti, Candreva, or Lautaro Martinez. Danny, this is the first game at the Maradona against Sassuolo, still with Berardi. How do you see it? This Napoli, the odds are completely low, as we can expect Napoli to win, only 1.3.
I think against Frosinone, Napoli looked a little bit labored initially. You could tell it was the first game of the season. They had, some issues in midfield with the new signing Cajuste, still adapting. When Zambo Anguissa came on, they were better. But, even after Frosinone scored, you knew there was always going to be an outcome. And I think with Sassuolo, this game probably is going to be the same story. Napoli are way, way stronger than Sassuolo in their starting 11. They got more confidence. Last season, they won 14 games at home, scored 40 goals. The good news for them is Kvaratskhelia is going to be back for this one, so at least play a portion of a game. You could tell against Frosinone they were missing an outlet on the left. Raspadori played well, but he was coming inside a lot. He's not naturally a left winger, whereas Kvaratskhelia is going to just go for it and take you on. But they got Osimhen. They got the best player in Serie A at the moment alongside Lautaro Martinez, who scored a great goal, the first goal. The second goal is also beauty. And against Sassuolo, the record is magnificent. They won the last 3, scoring 12 goals. Osimhen scored 4. Everything points towards a comfortable win for Napoli at home. No clean sheet for Sassuolo in the last 9 games. And everything revolves around Domenico Berardi, their captain, their talisman, the player with more goals for them in the history. Berardi has been put outside of the team because of disciplinary reason linked to a potential move to Juventus. Now, the Sassuolo management says they don't want to sell Berardi, and unless he accepts that, he's not going to play this season. They miss him badly against Salernitana, especially on the right-hand side where they played De Frel. Not the same kind of player. The Fred is a good player, but he hasn't got the directiveness of Berardi. And in fact, against Atalanta, Sassuolo only produced 0.38 expected goals, second lowest tally of the game. So they all look a little bit erratic to me. I think is an easy win, as easier as it gets for Napoli. Half-time, full-time Napoli. I'm surprised to see the odds so high, 191.
Well, Ian is going exactly for the same. Is this Napoli, Danny, with Rudy Garcia very different from the one with Spalletti, or we have to wait a little bit?
We have to wait. We have seen them playing slightly more directly. There was a less tiki-taka, if you like, less passes in midfield and more balls towards Osimhen. Not always good. But I think to have a proper look, you need to see them with Kvaratskhelia on the side. But they look very confident, really. So... You can't judge them. You cannot judge them against Frosinone.
Yeah, we have to wait a little bit. Corello, well, still early days to know if Osimhen is going to stay next season in Napoli. I think it's already an achievement that he's staying in this 23-24. Especially with the crazy market. Let's see how much Premier League could pay for a player like Osimhen scoring so many goals with Napoli in Serie A if we are seeing the numbers that we are seeing with Chelsea, for instance, in the summer transfer window. And we have two more games on Monday, Salernitana Udinese. We had a comment before about Ochoa aging like wine. He had another good performance in the draw against Salernitana. Candreva, we can say exactly the same, aging good like wine. So a promising start for Salernitana. For Udinese, Dani, poor start, but you mentioned that Juventus were way better. I'm surprised to see these very good odds for Salernitana. Do you place Udinese as favorite for this one?
No, I don't, but I am surprised as well to see Salernitana's win paying 3, which is a lot, you know. And maybe you can explain that by looking at the numbers. We did mention in the previous video with for Matchday 1, the last season, Salernitana collected 11 more points if you look at the expected goals for and against. Now, this is not an exact science because not every single shot expected goal should go in, and, you know, obviously they got a very good keeper. But it tells you that things can go either way for Salernitana. They are a little bit Serie A big entertainers. It can go either way. They are very leaky at the back, but at the same time, they got a strong, very cohesive team. They got a strong team spirit, and they got players up front, the likes of Candreva and Bulaidia, who should start this game, by the way. He came from the bench against Roma. Who got goals in them, who got skills. And, you know, they always I think the Salernitana games, again, is going to be another ones that you will see at the end of the season, 60, 70%. They're going to be over 2.5 goals. There'll be a lot of both to score. But that tells you how unpredictable they're gonna be. I don't think they are at 3, they are good value. Also because they play against an Udinese side who's sensibly weaker compared to last season. They lost good ball carriers. They lost the likes of Pereira. They lost Becao at the back. They're still without Deulofeu. And, you know, there is a World Cup winner in Udinese. You would not know if I don't tell you. Tuaven has been absolutely non-existent in Serie A. We don't even know I don't know what a Tuaven shot in Serie A looks like almost. I mean, yeah, he's been playing, but you could tell he's almost not been there. I'm sure he will score this weekend. That's for Bellotti from last season. They lost 10 away games last season, Udinese, including at Salerno when they lost 3-2. The best player, Samardzic, has been involved in a transfer saga that I won't bore you with, involving his dad and his agent and Inter and Udinese. I mean, it's been all over. I'm going to go for an Asian handicap 0 for Salernitana. Just want to cover my back a little bit. 216. I mean, if Salernitana draws, you get your money back. But if they win, it's a very, very good price. Yeah.
Still very good odds indeed to back Salernitana, both teams to score for electronics. What a knowledge from Dani Fisichella. He knows everything. Look no further if you are looking for information about Italian football. He knows everything. El profesor Fisichella, like el profesor Ranieri. Dani.
Ranieri.
Good start for Cagliari. This one, Cagliari Inter, if you are still on holidays, you are in Sardinia. It's a good plan for a Monday evening in August. Go and see Cagliari going back to Serie A with Ranieri with a point earned at Torino, and to see Inter Milan, the runner-ups of the Champions League, with a good start with Lautaro Martinez scoring a brace, with the supporters also backing their team after that defeat. It was a very nice scenario and a nice evening, Dani, for Inter in their first game in Serie A.
I think this could be tricky for Inter. Huh? It's going to be a tricky trip to Sardinia because Cagliari, they are experienced. They got a few players in the side, the likes of Yankto, Augello, Pavoletti, Deiola. These are Nandez. These are all players that got 100 presences in Serie A or more, 5 or 6 seasons. So of all the 3 newly promoted sides, Cagliari are definitely very experienced. Also, of course, because of their manager. And what they're going to do is they're going to pack the midfield. You will see the lineup, a 4-3-3, is a 4-5-1 really, or a 4-5-1 with Nandez, with Luvumbu dropping back and leaving only one striker up front. But despite doing that, they are not necessarily defending and parking the bus. They just organize. They shut down the middle and leave you spaces on the wings. And against Torino, they had decent chances. They know how to manage games. So Cagliari last season, in December, they were 14th in the table in Serie B. So the fact that they got promoted is a bit of a miracle. And some people in the comments, they will struggle. They say, well, it is difficult to judge them on last season. But I think, yes, they will struggle in the sense that Inter are going to have a lot of the ball, maybe 60% possession. But I think they will make it really, really hard for Inter. This is a side that under Ranieri, I think they know how to manage game. And, Inter, at the end of the day, they got the job done against Monza. 22 shots, only 3 on target. So they need to improve that. Sometimes they lacked a little bit of sharpness. But yes, of course, the base of Inter is really, really solid. That 3-5-2. They've been playing for Inzaghi for the last 3 years. And Inzaghi has been intelligent because he's adding the new players to the team slowly. So only 2 new signings started on Saturday, Thuram and Sommer. We'll see whether Arnautovic, Frattesi, Quadrado will be given more minutes. The good news for Inter is that they signed Pavard, who's a great signing for them. They paid it quite a lot, 30 million for a player whose contract expires in the summer. I think it's a massive price, but they needed him. They needed somebody quick and with experience at the back. They're still looking for a 4th striker if they manage to sell Correa. But now let's go into the players market. If you follow Serie A as much as I do, you know that there is one striker, and Ed already knows who I'm talking about, who's streaky striker. Scores one game, keeps scoring, and he doesn't score from a... It's Lautaro Martinez. Scored, of course, at the weekend against Monza. Last season, between Matchday 2 and Matchday 4, he scored 3 times in a row and had 5 streaks last season of 2 games or more in Serie A where he scored for 2 or more games. Now, against Cagliari, Martinez has scored 8 goals in 8 games. Last season, they traveled to Cagliari, scored 2. You might say, okay, these stats count for nothing, but I think they do count in the player's mind. They do feel more confidence, and Martinez is by far the most important player for Inter. Having said that, I think Inter will control the ball, maybe will score the first goal, but will sit back because they are able also to control the game, and they had a tendency last year not to kill games off many times. I remember the games against Monza, against Salernitana. They scored, and then they back down, and the opposition managed actually to retrieve a goal and to get a point. I think this is going to be an under 2.75 goals, 193, based on the idea that if Inter scores the first goal, they'll probably try to administer. But be mindful of Cagliari. I think they will make life harder for Inter, especially initially. Under 2.70 goals, 193. If there are 3 goals in the game, you lose half a stake.
Or both teams to score. No, for instance, Corello is telling us, Electronics is pointing out Arnautovic, who gave an assist, actually. So
he started well. He had a good impact. A backheel flick as soon as he started, and the assist to Lautaro is an intelligent pass. I think, just to answer Flicks, I think in the long run, we will see probably Arnautovic playing more games on the first minutes than Thuram, because I think Thuram is not a number 9, he's not a center forward that occupies the box. He doesn't shoot on target a lot. He hasn't shot at all. He hasn't scored any goal in the preseason. He's more of a player that you put in if you're winning and you need somebody to run into space. He's more of a winger. If Inzaghi manages to transform him into a number 9, it's great. But I think, especially against teams that apply a low block, that defend, he will go with Arnautovic if he fits more than Thuram.
So I guess going back to Electronics question, Inter will miss Dzeko.
The experience, you do miss the experience, but Dzeko last season, I mean, he had a very good start of the season. Second half, he tailed off a little bit. He's 37 years old, you have to remember. I think there are very few players in the world as intelligent as Dzeko. And when he was in his prime, he was the complete player. At Manchester City and Roma, it was amazing. I think, yes, they will miss the experience, but it depends how fit Arnautovic is. And as I said, how adaptable is Thuram.
Well, you are talking about how intelligent and smart and what Simone Inzaghi could do, and I saw him shortlisted for the best manager of the year for UEFA. Only 8 months ago, you were talking about him being sacked from Inter, so this is football. How things can change for Inter. Now they are optimistic about the new season. Well, Danny, I'm also optimistic about your safe bet. We got our international ACCA correct for the second week in a row. But before we go there, just remember that we have the promo, a special promo with 1xBet, and this welcome bonus of 130%. You can see there the 1xBet website with the games we have today. For instance, in the Champions League, Danny, and perhaps someone has already thought about some safe bets. We have Napoli, we have Juventus. Which one is your pick, Danny?
I'm going to stick with the champions of Italy. This time they play at home against Sassuolo, and I'm going to go for Napoli to beat Sassuolo, which pays 132.
Okay, and your ACCA?
Verona Roma over 1.5 goals. Juventus to beat Bologna home. Lazio Genoa over 1.5 goals, and staying with Napoli to win the first half against Sassuolo. Total odds 5.17.
Well, guys, tell me in the comments if you like the ACCA, if you like and enjoy the show. Don't forget, just press the like to support us, and of course, subscribe to our channel. Danny, we keep growing. We are just this close for the 20,000 subscribers. So thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next week. Danny Fisichella.
Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao.